Okay, folks, we're going to call this meeting to order. Bridget, do you mind starting with roll call?
No problem. Richard Graves.
Here.
Ed Strobel.
I'm here. Sorry, I was off mute.
Thank you. Christopher Rotella. Okay. Steve Whitten.
Here. Good evening, all.
Hello. Robin Tirelli. Okay. Cliff Berry.
Here.
Bill Walker. Bill
Here.
Walker.
Here.
Thank you. Sorry, my voice is cracking. Ted Morley.
Here.
Roseanne Lovell.
Here.
Deirdre Bowling Lewis.
Here.
Thank you. Barry Flanagan. I don't think I heard Barry. Okay.
He's here.
Norbert McLaughlin.
Here.
James Harrison. And Barry, you're here, are you not?
Here.
Gotcha. And Chair Henderson.
Here.
Okay, thank you. We do have a quorum.
Okay. Our last meeting was March 4th, 2021. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting?
So moved, Ted Morley.
Second. Norbert.
Okay, we have a second from Norbert. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Bridget stated we do have a quorum. So let's move on to our waterway crime and boating safety report. Yeah. I don't think it's on yet.
Can you hear me?
Mm-mm.
All right, we had 35 citations, 101 warnings, 7 safety inspections, 4 accidents, and 16 miscellaneous incidents and 2 burglaries. The miscellaneous incidents were returned property, some information reports, some trespassing reports, and civil matters.
What about the burglaries?
Burglaries. One was at 1950 Southeast 15th Street. Garments were stolen.
Mm.
The other one was on Cordova, and 2 garment chop plotters were stolen.
More garments being stolen, huh?
Not sure, but I believe they caught someone that was doing some of the burglaries. Not sure if he was involved in these or not.
Okay. And when is the air show? Is that in May?
May 8th and 9th.
Right. So we'll meet again before that.
Mhm.
Yeah. May 8th and 9th. Okay. 2 days.
Could I please ask the officer to state her name for the record?
Laurie Arthur, Arthur.
Thank you.
And do we have any questions for Officer Arthur? Okay, thank you so much for coming. Appreciate it. All right, let's continue along on item number 5, dock permit, 1029 Cordova Road. I believe we have a Steve Caswell that's going to be speaking on that and running us through it. Steve?
Yes, I'm here for both 915 Cordova Road and 1029 Cordova
Okay.
Road.
Thank you.
Basically, what the owner's intention is to build what he had there prior to the the demolition of the existing seawall, and basically just getting back to where he was before this renovations were taking place, as far as the wall, the infrastructure, the storm drains, and so on.
Can you go into a little bit more details to just the dock that's going to be built exactly?
Basically, they're going to be a frame structure, 2x12, 2x6, 2x8 construction, pressure treated piles. Nothing will be attached to the brand new seawall that's been constructed, neither on the water side or the land side. And there'll be actually what we've designed is a pretty cool precast staircase that's going to go on the land side that will be substantial enough where it'll not require a lot of excessive anchoring, and then also create a stable platform for them to walk across the top of the seawall and onto their dock without really using the seawall other than just a pass over.
And the dock sticks out about, am I looking at this right, about 4 feet?
Yes, approximately 4 foot. The dock's going to be off the seawall, and the drawings depict everything as far as the actual dimensions go. I don't know if you have the accessibility to take a look at those at this time, but we used all the criteria that was provided to us by the different municipalities as far as what we're entitled to obstruct or not obstruct. Let's put it that way.
Okay. Do we have some questions from the board for Mr. Caswell?
I'm open to any questions. Also, I have been working with Andrew Cuba quite extensively in regards to making sure that we comply with everything that is currently on the book, so to speak, as far as both the county and the city.
So is this similar to what was there before?
Yes, sir. It basically we're doing the same. We're taking the footprint that was there and we're just basically redoing the exact same footprint that's there. Of course, there are some little bit of changes as far as the criteria goes because of setbacks and some more definitive, verbiage. But, we've, again, worked with Andrew quite extensively about this. And I think that, our final design meets all the criteria of everybody without obstructing the waterway for any other, ancillary traffic. Of course, if you look at one of the properties, it's right up against the bridge anyway, so there's not really a lot of traffic in that area anyway.
I can see that.
And I believe that's going to be the 1029 property.
Yeah, you're right in the corner there, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, you're really limited to how you're going to impact through traffic, so to speak.
Okay.
And
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Steve. Go ahead.
that's all right. And then as far as the 915 property, that's a little bit more.
Before we get to the 915 property, let's
Yeah, sure.
let's wrap up the 129 property or 10.
Okay. Sure.
So do we have any questions from our board? Okay, if we don't have any questions at the moment, then I'm going to open it up to the public to speak. Do we have a Bierenbraun? That I'm probably butchering that, but near Bierenbraun?
Close. Neil Bierenbaum is my name.
Okay, go ahead.
I came in a little bit after you got started here. My comments I wanted to make was the Casa Murano 141 Isle of Venice. Was that brought up on on today's agenda?
No, that was deferred.
That was deferred. Okay, then I gladly will just waive my question till the next time, and I'll listen on.
Love to have you next time.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Neil. Was there a need in Norval that wanted to speak as well in the public? Oh, okay.
Nita is a future board member. She's listening in.
Okay, she's just listening in. Okay. So do we have anybody from the public then? Okay, if we don't have anybody from the public, then let's bring it back to the board. If there
I got a quick question. So Andrew, is this one of the first docks to go in since the seawall's been rebuilt?
This is the second. We had
The
one.
second one? Okay. And these guys are compliant to everything? Because I thought that was a really good process that we went through, that the city approved on the use of that seawall and the attachments and all that. And,
Absolutely.
okay.
I'm going to be working with Mr. Caswell on one future exhibit that has nothing to do with tonight. But yes, compliant.
Fantastic.
The other thing that we need to keep in mind with, as we've had past projects like this, with this Cordova Road being finished, is just to remain consistent on everything we do here, because we're gonna have more and more of these come our way, I would imagine.
Correct.
You know, the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, whatever it may be. So
yeah,
consistency is key. Other than Bill, anybody else like to talk about it? Have any issues?
Yeah, Steve Whitten. I just have a question on when you talk about the number of similar situations that will come up. I certainly agree. And I wonder, talking about looking at the stairs that are proposed, is it going to be up to every homeowner to do whatever they choose to do with stairs, or is there any type of uniformity, or how does that all work?
I mean, I think that's really up to you folks to establish a standard, so to speak. If you wanted one, we could definitely provide you with a pretty rudimentary precast stairs that you could say, okay, well, this is your code, so to speak, as far as that step over and transition across the top of the seawall.
I don't know how you do it without stairs.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, I don't know how you get up there without stairs, because
Well, no, there's no way to get up there without stairs. I mean, that's not even something that you could consider.
all right.
And this is Andrew. The one restricting provision is that no stairs are allowed to attach to the seawall, as was mentioned during their presentation. And that's the criteria, is that what we've designed is we've designed something. We're actually the contractor that did the seawall as well, but we designed something that is standalone, so that therefore we don't have any attachments to the seawall itself. So in the event of any type of event, hurricane or whatever, there is nothing to create damage because of that attachment that might be there otherwise.
Okay.
And it's the same thing, sir, and gentlemen, ladies, as far as the water side, there are no physical attachments between the dock and the seawall. They're actually standalone structures, so that they are independent of whatever is taking place as far as the seawall goes.
Gotcha. Okay. Steve Whitten, thanks for that question. Anybody else for Mr. Caswell?
Cliff Barry here. Question.
Sure.
Based on the height of the stairs, or will the code require any handrails?
Well, and Cliff, that's a good question. It really depends on the elevation, the existing elevation between the top of the cap and the where we would be stepping off that first step, so to speak. Some, yes, would require a handrail on one side, some both sides. Honestly, though, that's where you guys have to define, is this really isn't public access. This is private access that you're giving to these homeowners, isn't it? So there's some different criteria that go into railings and accesses and that type of thing.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, Cliff, I didn't hear you. You're muted.
I just said, okay, thank you.
Sure.
Anybody else? Okay. If not, do we have a motion on the floor? For this
Motion to approve.
Ted Morley, second.
Okay. That was Bill Walker and Bridget. Did you catch the second?
Yes, it was Mr. Morley.
Okay.
Okay,
Let's go ahead and do if you'll run through Bridget and do a voice vote.
roll call, you mean?
Yes, please.
Okay, no problem. Mr. Graves,
Yay.
Mr. Strobel,
Yay.
Mr. Witten,
Yay.
Mr. Barry,
Yay.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mr. Morley,
Yes.
Ms. Lovell,
Yes.
Ms. Bowling Lewis,
Yay.
Mr. Flanagan,
Yes.
Mr. McLaughlin,
Yes.
Chair Henderson.
Yes.
That's unanimous. Thank you.
Okay. Then let's move on to item number 6, dock permit 915 Cordova Road. Then we have Mr. Caswell again. If you'll run us through this one, please.
Certainly. This is another property that a client of ours owns. Basically, he's just looking to put back the dock that was there prior to, again, the demolition of the existing docks during the reconstruction of the seawall and everything that took place during over the landside.
Okay. And is this, I see he's got stairs again, and
Yes, sir.
how far will he be sticking out?
Approximately the same distance. So the docks are a standard size because we have to adhere to the waterway and the midline requirements based on DEP. If you notice, within the package are all the DEP and all the other ancillary approvals that are needed in order to adhere to the different agencies.
Right. And this one is just a bit further north, isn't it?
It's just a bit further north, exactly.
Okay.
And actually, if you look at the there is a picture where it shows it on the waterway and the overall, and I think we highlighted it the affected area in lime green to just give you an overall understanding of the areas affected during construction.
Yep. See all that. Okay. Do we have any more? Do we have questions from the board for Mr. Caswell on 915? Okay, if nothing at the moment, let's move it to the public. Is there anybody from the public that would like to ask a question or comments, concerns from the board or Mr. Caswell on this dock permit? Nobody. Okay, back to the board. I'm assuming everybody's looked through Mr. Caswell's package and has looked at it. Do we have any more further questions? If not, then do we have a motion on the floor?
Sure, I'd make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
I'll second. Oh,
Okay, Bridget, did you get those?
Yes, I have Mr. Witten making the motion and Mr. Barry seconding.
Okay, let's just do the same thing if you do a roll call.
Okay. Mr. Strobel,
Yay.
Mr. Witten,
Yep.
Mr. Barry,
yes.
thank you, Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mr. Morley,
Yes.
Ms. Lovell,
Yes.
thank you, Ms. Bowling Lewis,
Yes.
Mr. Flanagan,
Yes.
Mr. McLaughlin,
Yes.
Mr. Graves,
Yes.
Chair Henderson.
Yes.
Yeah, that's unanimous as well.
Thank you, Mr. Caswell.
Very good. Thank you, gentlemen and ladies. I appreciate you all your help and look forward to doing more work with you in the future.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Now that that's off. We're moving right along here. Agenda item. Well, we've had 2 dock waivers that have been removed, so we're moving on to 7, which is old business. Yep.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to bring up an issue that was voted on a month ago, I guess, at our board regarding the variance down on 20th and the subsequent commission meeting, 2 weeks ago. If you heard that the commission rejected the variance unanimously, that was one thing, but if you watched the video in its entirety and you saw the almost animosity towards the Marine Board and the position that we take by rubber stamping variances, I think we need to get this out in the open and take notice of several facts that were either deleted from the presentation, which was a narrated video by a party who's taking a position completely opposite of what he took several years ago in obtaining a 100-foot dock from his property out, a floating dock, to accommodate what was then a 100-foot burger that he wanted to bring there. He received the variance in what was probably the most contested issue that I recall in 12 or 15 years on this board. And he never exercised that, but now we see him bringing forward a lot of misinformation, information that's there, but it's throughout the city. There was issues pertaining to the service trucks there, the fuel delivery. Caterpillar had 1 or 2 vehicles there, boats being detailed there. Last Thursday, I attempted to go down Del Lago Drive, and after encountering 26 service vehicles, I had to turn around to able to make my turn. This is an area that it's permitted. There's great tax dollars and tax benefits that come from these areas. 3 cluster pilings sticking out into a waterway at probably the widest part of that waterway was not the issue. It was some type of, and what I believe, some type of future plans, or I just don't understand why he was so opposed to this. The engineering drawings that he presented, I guess they didn't apply to his 100-foot boat and his 100-foot dock that he was that he received a permit on. We serve on this board. We volunteered. There have been numerous times that other methods and suggestions could have or should have been brought to the commission. And one of them is this 25% rule that the county and state has adopted. Tyler Chappelle has brought that to our board and the commission in the past and is willing to do it again in a future meeting. It's a modernization, perhaps, of where we are today. I also want to bring out the value of properties there. There's from a very brief, non-professional view of county tax scrolls, I don't think there's anyone suffering from the property and their property values there. I hope the board will want to see us make improvements, and we have to better this relationship with the commission. Anything else, Mr. Chairman? I'll answer any questions. Oh, may I also, no, that's all right. I'm sorry.
No, we had sent out the video again today, so I hope everybody took the time to watch it. just off what Barry said too, they seem to be stuck on some issues regarding that area that didn't necessarily pertain to the pilings that were going on, like the boat that was there, they were so focused on that the boat is chartered in the past, yet it hasn't chartered since 2017 as a foreign flag boat, and it only can charter outside of the US. And they made it sound like they were operating a business at the dock, which is not correct. So,
Well, this is Deirdre. Can I just say, I can't speak to this particular situation, but I am aware there are a number of charter boats that are picking people up at private docks.
Are you talking about this particular?
No, I can't speak to what was in this particular video and this particular issue, but I mean, that is something that is going on. In full disclosure, I am related, for lack of a better word, to someone who owns a charter fishing business. So I hear it all the time. And there are a number of charter fishing boats, especially after COVID, when the rents weren't being abated. They gave up their docking, they gave their docks, and they parked their boats behind somebody's backyard, and they're just picking people up at private houses now. So that is going on. I don't know if it's going on in what you're speaking of, but it is going on. Yeah,
it's not going on where we're speaking of. I mean, they made it sound like this is over 100-foot boat that, does term charters. So week-long charters that hasn't chartered hasn't been actively chartered since 2017. And again, they made it sound like they were running out of business at the discussed location, which is not accurate. And putting up, one triple piling cluster, I don't see how that makes it. I mean, they were concerned about hurricanes. How would a hurricane? I mean, how would a new triple piling cluster be worse in case of a hurricane based off what you have now? So it was just kind of a little puzzling as to some of the reasonings behind the unanimously deciding not to rejecting that waiver. It was a little confusing to me, and certainly I don't feel that we're rubber stamping things here. We're always listening to all these presentations and going through them and asking questions and making sure that safety and navigation is not hindered or impeded, and everything will be safe moving forward. So it's just it was a little confusing after watching it, to be honest. Anybody else have any more comments? Anybody else watch it and see the whole thing? It's about 20 minutes long, but they kind of carried on for a while. And, it was very interesting, and I certainly don't think that we rubber stamp anything here. I know.
Esteemed Chair, this is Roseanne Lovell, who I've remained silent because I'm clearly vested, because I live and own on 20th Avenue and have brokered, just vested on this avenue. And so there's a couple points I want to acknowledge and validate Deidre's point. And this was something that I don't know if it's in our jurisdiction. Andrew, I wanted you to speak to it, but you're right. The fishing charter people, I was contacted this week by somebody who, raised the point that we're the marina capital of the world, but we do not have a commercial fishing dock. And he's scrambling. This particular person asked me if it was, and I just didn't, I don't know. I don't want to raise too many flags up San Juan Hill right now. My plate's pretty full. But to speak to Barry's point and to acknowledge what you said, Chair, it was more than puzzling. I am thinking that there definitely this wave has come to shore a couple of times in the past. regarding 20th Avenue and how special this is. The people that spoke are the exception. From the north end to the south end, you would find total cohesiveness. I would say 95% are love what we have here and love our Marina Mile. And to your point again, Chair, the fact whether or not, I mean, it's so touching that their altruism about safety and in the event of a hurricane and flooding, the bottom line is nobody is going to neglect an asset of that stature, and denying their waiver does not prevent them from placing a boat there. And if you take from all of the properties on here, I think there's maybe 90% have waivers. So this is and to raise one of the points that was brought up at the commission meeting, you know, this is what it is. This is not even an issue of being pregnant. This baby is now practically in college. And to deny them, I mean, any applicants that have been denied, I am a lawyer, but this is a takings case that would, yeah, this is whatever. But what I was more disturbed by is all of us are giving up our Holy Thursday evening, and we take our roles earnestly, and to say that we're strictly here as a rubber stamp. I think we need to meet with the commissioners individually. I think Commissioner Mayor Trantalis, whom I respect, he hates waivers altogether, but I think it's actually, I think we need to come up with a uniformity of code. So from Mayor Noggle days and Mayor Seiler days, there has been an issue of coming up with a special zoning classification for 20th Avenue. I think now is the time. But there's sort of a 3-4-headed monster here. We need to address the validity of the Marine Advisory Board and what we do. Maybe it's time for a re-education with the commissioners. It's an issue of what is a waiver, because there was a little, in that commission meeting, it was whether waivers were 20th Avenue versus waiver citywide were going to be at issue. So yeah, this is a big bowl of spaghetti that needs to be addressed.
I could not agree with you more. I think one of my frustrations with being on this board is that there are no standards. There's no standards. There's no defined definition of what requirements these requests really need to meet in order for us to grant or not grant a waiver. I mean, I think you guys have heard me ask the questions over and over again, and you know, really we just sort of take them at their word. I think we do need more rules.
Respectfully, I'm not necessarily in favor of more rules. I just think clarification is always a good thing.
Well,
Chair?
in addition to that, though, like, you know, what we approved it for and what they denied it for is not consistent. And
100% not consistent.
And we go off of the safety, the navigation of the waterways. Is it impeding other boats moving through?
No.
Somebody get hurt, and we looked at it and we approved it. And I feel like they did not approve it for other reasons. And so the lack of consistency between the commission and the board there is a bit troubling, and perhaps need to be reviewed or talked about. That's what we're doing. Cliff, did you want to chime in?
Yeah, yes, I did. In response to not having any, governing or anything written, I think that's what this board is about. There is something, there is what is set in Fort Lauderdale as far as code, and then anything that steps outside of that, that's what we do. And anyone that's listened to these board meetings and been on them for a while, I can remember nights for hours and hours going on about something on the river and taking into consideration the professionals like Bill Walker, like the tugboat companies in that tow the big yachts up and down, and making educated decisions on how far a dock can extend in critical areas on the New River so that it is safe for passage. And I think the board, at least the times I've sat on it, has made educated decisions and not rubber stamp them, and sometimes agreed or sometimes not agreed. So I just, that rubber stamp is just troubling, the word.
Well, in addition, we have a group here, and we've had a group in the past, so long as I've been on this board, that people are in the boating industry in some capacity, in some way, shape, or form. And we've got a diverse group here that knows a lot about boating, knows a lot about our city, and knows a lot about being safe on the waterways, the navigation of the waterways. So we have a good group here that can speak intelligently on these things. So again, I would agree with you, Cliff. Any other comments?
Yeah, Steve Whitten. I mean, as Cliff said, and others, it's really offensive. And this is a really dedicated, highly professional group of guys that question everything at times where you're sitting back going, oh, this is going to be a no-brainer. That's not the case. So for anybody to suggest that this group rubber stamps anything is truly offensive. And I also agree that we should kind of follow up on this, because we all give of our time because we really do care about this and take it quite seriously. So I hope this doesn't get dropped here.
Thank you, Steve. Anybody else want to have an opinion, or?
This is Ed. I would definitely suggest that we meet with, our own commissioners and the mayor and other people individually, and basically ask them, okay, what are your thoughts on this? And I think this is only the second time we've been overturned that I remember in the last 5 years. And it obviously doesn't feel good. And the whole idea behind rubber stamping is definitely not feeling good at all. I think I'm one of the few people that's not in the industry, but I'm literally on the river almost every day, or at least looking at it. So I take kind of offense to that rubber stamp part as well. But I would definitely suggest we all try to meet with our own commissioners and maybe the mayor individually.
Yeah, in addition to that, Ed, I'm not quite sure if the commission is even aware of the waivers that we don't approve.
Right.
It doesn't get to them, so they obviously get the ones that we do. But obviously, there's been more than enough in my tenure here where there's been a lot that we have not approved, and so that needs to be taken into consideration as well, which I don't think it is.
Chair Anderson, Ted Morley.
Go ahead, Ted.
Yeah, I would just kind of maybe recommend or suggest that we as a board send a communication to the commission and invite one or all of them perhaps to start sitting in or observing the MAB meetings, so they can actually see the discussion that takes place, the involvement that this committee has, the thoughtful introspection on our decisions before they render an opinion of rubber stamping like they are. Perhaps if they observed it firsthand, they would understand what goes into these things and all of the conversations that take place. Sir.
Amen to that.
It's a good idea.
In maybe 6-7 months ago, this is Norbert, I suggested, and I made a proposal, Bill Walker and myself, to take the city commission on an observation tour up the New River. And had two commissioners thought it was a great idea to go and take the boat. And we even had a boat set up because we had done it in the past, way back. We have taken the commission to look at different things. And at that point over there, they told me that it was fine. This time the city attorney shot it down because of a sunshine regulation. And I questioned what sunshine regulation, and it was that we couldn't put enough people on the boat, public. So we said, we'll just have to get a larger boat. But that was shot down, and that was the two commissioners thought that was a great idea to take a tour of the river to see firsthand some of the things that we either approve or don't approve, or what's actually going on the river as far as the commerce and everything was concerned. And like I said, to repeat myself, the city attorney shot it down because of the sunshine regulation.
Yeah, I remember that, Norbert. Andrew, can we do that? Can we send a communication to the commission and the mayor asking or inviting them to sit in on our next meeting, or?
The board is able to make any communication that they wish to make.
How would everybody feel about that? Go ahead, Barry.
Couldn't we have, this mainly would be this 25% rule that the city or the state and counties have adopted. Lauderdale hasn't. It's been presented to different commissioners at different times. Let's agenda it for next month or at a future meeting and have the commission come and sit here and, you know, we'll openly discuss it. We don't have any sunshine issues to worry about. It'd be an agended meeting.
So I think you're suggesting that I place an item on the May agenda to review.
Well, why don't we give them enough time? Maybe June, so it's not, they have
any
no excuse not to.
June agenda reviewing the criteria of the ULDR,
Right.
specifically as it relates to dock waivers.
Correct. Is everybody okay with that?
It seems to make perfect sense that if folks object to the way that at least they perceive that we're doing things, it would be great if we could communicate with them, and having them join a meeting certainly makes perfect sense.
I'm going to make a suggestion, Chair Anderson. The that video was disturbing. I'm termed off this board come July. I've been on it for 6 years. I had a really phenomenal attendance record, and I saw some really cool things going on with marine advisory boards with the county and stuff like that. But this board has always had some phenomenal professionals, and a lot of times it's been frustrating of like, okay, what is the communication? What is the directive coming out of the commission? You know, because they've changed, you know, as the voting goes on. And maybe one suggestion above and beyond is maybe like a biannual, you know, communications, or, you know, like, hey, how are we doing? And like this, what everyone likes, because we got so many things going on in the marine world out here, and we're here scratching the surface with, you know, a number of home dock ownership, you know, waivers and things like that. But there's really big things that we all know about, like, you know, tunnel crossings and dredging and, you know, public marinas, non-public marinas. There's no more slip space south of Sunrise. I mean, that's a pretty big deal, you know? And so that'd just be one suggestion that, you know, I think over the years, and voicing what Deidre and a couple others said, maybe a little more like, hey, what do you commissioners think of this or that? Or explanation, because Ted and others and Cliff said it is 100%. We have regulations. We do adhere to them. We have great presentation. Nothing's rubber stamped. So.
And look, we have a lot of undefined terms, and that leads to a lot of interpretation. And I think that creates that allows for a misunderstanding by the public, that interpretation is subjective. If the city can provide objective standards by which we grant or decline to grant waivers, then that takes the argument away from the naysayers that we are rubber stamping. We now have an objective standard by which everybody holds us accountable for.
Deidre, it's Roseanne Lovell again, and I agree with you. And I would just say to Chair Henderson and our colleagues, I'm looking for feedback, but I think the commission, given their animosity to our board at the moment, I think another commission or another missive to them will be dismissed. What I'm planning on doing is getting individual meetings scheduled, starting with the city manager, and then the mayor. And I would invite all of you to join me and do exactly what you're just talking about, is maybe and just talking about objective standards. But it will be an education process as to what our board does, and or just an introduction, you know. So I would hold off on sending a communication to the commission until we come up with a more comprehensive plan as to how to address this. And I just might add, to bring it full circle to Barry's point about the waiver that was where the commission dismissed it unanimously, which means they dismissed our assessment of it, is that, the Victoria Park Association had supported it unanimously. So there is such a disconnect in all of this, is again, the bowl of spaghetti, or however you want to term it. So I would, Andrew, I look for your input. I'm thinking that it's not the time to send a missive to the commission again. They're kind of not loving us at the moment. Maybe we step back and we come up with a comprehensive plan as to how we meet with the city manager. I'm thinking it's education level 101 on what is a waiver and how could we make the code more uniform with the state. The state requires 25%, get it more uniform, and let's go to them with a very tied up communications package.
Roseanne, this is Andrew. I agree with you. I think that a good example of what this board has done in the past is the reform of the Boatlift code 6-7 years ago. The board came up with an idea. It was brought to the commission. Commission said, work on the code, and it was rewritten. There is a communication to the commission at the upcoming city commission meeting on May 6th, April 6th, I should say, specific to the seawalls. So it would be wonderful if we had some representation at that meeting on behalf of the board, since the communication came from the board, and perhaps an opportunity exists at that meeting to emphasize the board's decision-making prowess.
I think that's a start.
Yep.
Anderson, Ted Morley.
Go ahead, Ted.
Yeah, I have a question directed at Andrew. Andrew, there's a lot of discussion about having sidebar conversations with individual commissioners or having meetings that are not open to the public. Can you speak to the sunshine law on members of this board or this board in totality talking off the record to the commission about matters concerning the MAB or the commission itself? It was my understanding that we could not do that, so I'd appreciate some clarification on that and how that affects us legally.
So as board members, you're able to meet with the commissioners individually as opposed to in a group to discuss board issues out of the sunshine. That's a one-on-one meeting, and that would be fine. You're able to do so with, in theory, the city manager and city commissioner one-on-one or one-on-two. But a couple of board members cannot meet with the commissioner at the same time, is my understanding.
That's what I thought. Thank you.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Richard Graves. I'm not so knowledgeable about all these permits and waivers and everything else, but I can tell you one thing that I do know, that Fort Lauderdale is changing. This is not the same place. Everything is into development. I just did an article I'm writing on Bahia, change that into a condominium, which is ridiculous in my opinion. But I think what you're starting to see here is this commission, I wonder how many of them have lived here for a while, how many of them are really familiar with the marina business and what it contributes to the economic good of Fort Lauderdale. But what I'm saying here is I think you have to look at this from a perspective that you're dealing now with probably some city commissioners that are not into the marine business itself. I mean, they, just look around you. They're building all over this place. Development is going all over. And I think that kind of direction has been taken over to change it. I don't know. It's just a little difficult. But again, I just say that I think the idea is to indoctrinate and spend more time with the city commission, trying to make them understand the economic impact of the marine industry on Fort Lauderdale and how the marina board. Now, I've been on this board for a while and I didn't see any rubber stamping, but I know, but it seems like we do discuss it and come up with an answer. But I think you guys have got a problem with the commission itself. Not so much the Marine Advisory Board, but just the idea of the marine industry has got a problem with the city commission.
This is Andrew again. I just want to remind everyone, these meetings are recorded and the commissioners are able to view these meetings, listen to these meetings at their leisure. So they don't necessarily have to be in the room to listen to these meetings.
Yeah.
I'm not saying anything derogatory toward them. I just don't think they're that apprised of the marine industry. That's all. Just how important it is.
I think more the point was that if they wanted to listen and to see how these things go, they can do that very easily. So if we're going to move forward here, you want to start by many of us being a part of that August 6th meeting as we can?
April.
Yeah. April 6th, of course.
That's a great start. That's next week. That's next Tuesday at 1:30 in the afternoon. The communications of the commission are right up front. It's an afternoon meeting. You can zoom in.
Okay.
And then on top of that, I think the direction is to schedule an agenda item for June MAB to discuss the ULDR criteria specific to waivers.
Okay. And for that April 6th, can you send out a reminder to this board, Andrew, on Monday and on Tuesday morning?
Sure.
Just keep pinging everybody. So I think the more people we have, the better.
Mr. Chair, is there any opportunity for the public to speak on this item?
Go ahead, Tyler.
Yeah, appreciate it. Two items. Just one, I think, the history of the discussion as far as looking at our code about how it can be consistent with what we're required to do for the other agencies that we have to get permits through for dock structures, boat lifts, everything that comes before this board would be warranted and would be great for the commission. I know this discussion has been had with the commissioners in the past, including the mayor, and was well received that, we've tried to get the city code consistent with the state and the Army Corps as far as their reviews on navigation and impacts to resources. And, that will tie into the overall approval, of which then segues into my second point, which is the perception of rubber stamp, I think is part of the fault that, when waivers are brought to the board, it's the consultant's responsibility to make sure that those waivers are consistent with the agency's requirements, as well as, not just looking at impacts to resources and navigation, but to make sure that we are meeting and we're reaching out to the people who are immediately affected adjacent to the properties that we're proposing these structures, which that's our job. So we do that, and I very rarely will bring anything to this board that I have not already done that and made sure that everybody's on board with what we're proposing, and that is our first recommendation to the owner and the applicant. And I think that's what causes the perception of a rubber stamp, is that you are reviewing something that has been vetted by the consultant properly so that the decision is easy. And that, I think, needs to be portrayed to the commission. And I just wanted to get that on the record as well, in that the goal is to have something that's consistent with all the agencies that have approvals, as well as with the people who are affected. And that's our goal. And that is the responsibility of the consultant, the applicant, and the board. And I think the board has done a great job of that. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Tyler. And, in addition to the presentations you give us, we've also have ample time to review them ourselves. And I think that everybody takes time to review the presentations and go over it and formulate questions and comments for you and the applicant if needed, to get through it and to make an educated decision. So that's it on this. We'll do the April 6th, and then we'll put that on the agenda for the June meeting. Okay. Do we have any more old business or new business?
Yeah. The issue down at the Icon or the Riverwalk. Tyler, are you comfortable talking? Is it premature to discuss this?
I am in the process of getting those revisions done and coordinating that with the industry. So I wouldn't want to discuss that any further without having their input, which I haven't had their input yet.
Will that come to the board?
I would recommend that it would come to the board in the event that the industry has issues, but I'm hoping that that will be resolved based on the revisions we're making.
If that gets revolved the way you just outlined it, then it would not come to the board.
It would not come to the board if it was resolved, in that it wouldn't be a requirement to do so. However, if it pleases the board and the industry to do so, we would be happy to do that.
The conditions that you're referring to, the Riverwalk easement, I think it's 22 pages long or something. There's several paragraphs in there restricting clearly in different paragraphs where it says restricting mooring of vessels or docking of boats. And in the environmental permit issued, there's also numerous places, including at section 15, where it clearly states there would be no mooring or docking of vessels. How do you get around that without coming to the board? When chapter 834 duties of this board, regulation, or number 12, regulation of boat docking in the New River and other public navigationals. How do we feel that is an item that you're going to impact the river and the commission will probably approve it, and yet it's outside our scope?
Currently, it's outside my scope. That's why I haven't done anything on that event, in that we're currently just processing through the environmental agencies. Once we get to the point of city authorization, that's not in my scope of work, but certainly that needs to be resolved.
Well, privy of the chair and the board, but there's nothing further to add.
Okay. Any other old or new business?
Chair, this is Cliff. I'd like to say something.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the Broward County Marine Advisory Board today approved the MLAG grant, the Enhanced Law Enforcement Grant, for the different agencies, in particular the City of Fort Lauderdale. Their grant for Marine Patrol was approved today for $184,104 for enhanced law enforcement, as well as aggressive hours for the patrols on the waterway.
Oh. Cliff, you muted yourself for that last bit there.
I was telling my children to be quiet.
Well, that's good to know. Thank you, Cliff, for that update.
Okay.
Anybody else for some older new business? Well, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Ted Morley.
Second, Bill Walker.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Well, thank you, everybody. I appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Discussion today.
Happy Easter.
Happy Easter. Happy Passover.